Hey guys, Gary here. Just make a couple little quick announcements. There are two audio issues throughout this show. At the beginning, Chris's mic has a little bit of a hiss to it, and also throughout the show you're going to notice that there's a little delay between Chris and Roy talking to each other. But it's a very watchable show, and also these should be fixed by the next episode, so hope you enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to Game All Nite. This is a video show and podcast about the people in, around, and adjacent to the board game hobby. Hello, I'm your host, Chris Whitpan. Tonight's episode, Roy Cannaday of Epic Gaming and I talk about some family and board games, and Gary Pope makes me swear. Also coming up at the end is our top 5 countdown, sourced from the viewership, just like you. They answered simple questions on Twitter, like, what's your favorite reasons for losing a game? So stay tuned for that, coming up at the end of the show after the interview. Now, I'm also standing here in front of this lovely shelfie. This one happens to be mine, but I want to see yours up here. So be sure to use the hashtag GANShelfie so that we can put yours up here. Now, without further ado, let's start the show. So, welcome to Game All Nite. This is episode 0. I'm joined today by Roy Cannaday from Epic Gaming Nite. Welcome, Roy. How are things going?
How's it going, Chris? I'm super excited to be here for you guys' first episode of Game All Nite. It's a pretty cool thing you guys have set up here.
I think it's going to be something really special, and I can tell you I really appreciate you being our first guest, and I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
Nice. Super stoked.
So real quick, tell me a little bit about like where you came at from the board game hobby. Like, what was your entry into this crazy thing we call our hobby?
Well, I feel like I've played tabletop games like my whole life. My dad was a big war gamer, so he got me into like board games and stuff back in the day, and he actually ran a Game World campaign like for me and like a bunch of my friends from the age of like 12 until I was like 18 pretty much. So I played tons of like role-playing game stuff, and I played a few board games here and there, like when Catan was big and like Carcassonne and stuff like that, and Bang, the card game. Played tons of that sort of stuff, but the first time I played Battlestar Galactica was when I like saw what a board game could really do and was like super hooked on it.
So, I mean, BSG is like classic. I literally have a friend who will play that all day, as many games as possible. He keeps stats on all the humans, the Cylon,
that's crazy,
everything. It's pretty awesome. It's a whole day of fun, and a lot of humans dying actually. So, what about Battlestar kind of makes it stand out compared to other stuff? Because I mean, it's been out a while.
It's kind of funny because like my friend who I played a lot of D&D with, he's like telling me about this Battlestar Galactica game, and he set up a game day for us to go and play Pathfinder for like a weekend. And in between games of Pathfinder, we played several games of this Battlestar Galactica board game. This was the first time I had seen a game where a lot of the people are working together on one side. I mean, it's still competitive because you have the Cylons that could be the hidden traitors, but just that whole thing blew my mind. And I had never seen Battlestar Galactica or the series at all, but just them describing it to me was like, oh man, this seems cool. And eventually I ended up seeing, after playing probably like 5 or 8 games of Battlestar Galactica, I actually watched the show for the first time. I'm like, holy crap, this is just like the board game. This is awesome.
Yeah, and you're playing like, this guy, Gaius Baltar, is awesome. He's a cool character. And then you start watching the show and you're like, he's a dick.
Well, honestly, whenever somebody picks Gaius, like, okay, I'm going to be Gaius right at the beginning, I'm like, you're immediately the Cylon. Like, we have like a whole meta of just like all sorts of crazy stuff. So I've had tons of fun playing that game. And just the fact that you're kind of on teams as you play the game, and there's a whole deceiving people mechanism. I mean, I got that a little bit playing like Bang and stuff like that when it first came out with the whole like hidden traitor and stuff. And I played Werewolf and stuff growing up and things, but it was really cool to see that in a more epic form board game.
Sure. Now, I first came across you on your little segment on Board Game Breakfast. That's where I kind of got introduced to you in Epic Gaming Nite. How did you decide, like, okay, this hobby's cool and all, but I want to make the leap into being a content creator? Where did that come from? Because this is it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I think I first started I was trying to start a game night with my game group, but we actually wanted to stream the videos on Twitch. So we used to stream like our gameplays of videos on Twitch, and we'd stream those like all the time. And back then there wasn't really anybody streaming board games on Twitch, and they didn't even have like a tag for it. So we had to like do it under like Tabletop Simulator, even though there wasn't Tabletop Simulators. Like, this is the realest simulation ever. It's a real table. But we did that for a while, but then we'd stay around like afterwards just talking about games. And that's when I started doing a board game podcast where like me and a couple of the guys from my game group got together and just talked about the games that we were playing and the experiences and the relationships that those games were creating. And after doing that a while, I got up with Mark Street and was really enjoying his reviews and content like that. I mean, I'd been watching Tom and the Dice Tower for forever. I mean, just to get more information about board games and really enjoying all their stuff. And Mark Street helped me get with Z and do a little bit of Board Game Blender stuff. And then when Sam came out with Throat Punch Lunch, I started doing that. And then a little while after that, I started doing the Favorite Game Friday and reviews and stuff on there. So I've been doing a lot of different stuff with the Dice Tower crew. And I just love what they bring to the tabletop community. Just because they give a lot of information to board games out there. So it's really cool to see all the different content creators on there.
Absolutely. I don't think it's possible to run into anybody who is even thinking about doing media without mentioning the Dice Tower, because it's just so big and it covers so many genres that you kind of have to know about it at this point. All right, so you were heavily influenced, I'd say, by your father in the gaming that he kind of came from.
Yeah.
So, and I know you have a couple kids, right? So what are you doing to bring in the next generation?
Oh yeah, I some of the first videos I did for reviews are like of some of the Haba Kids games. I have a lot of those that my kids love to play. And I mean, I've played all sorts of different things with my kids. I'm super excited. My son is only 5 years old and my daughter's 3, so they're still pretty young, but we've started playing games with them at like a young age. We played Go Away Monster, which is almost more of an activity than a game. You're just putting your hand in a bag and trying to pull out different like room pieces, like little room tiles that are like a bed or a lamppost or like a picture that goes in the background of the bed. But there's also monsters in the bag. If you pull out a monster, it's like, oh, it's a monster, it's scary. But it teaches the kids how to like kind of like tell what shapes are when they're hidden in a bag, and then also like how to take turns is like the main thing. It's really more of an activity than a game because we all work together to fill out our room and yell Go Away Monster. We've played a lot of the Haba games like Animal Upon Animal, and my son loves Monza, which is like the racing game, which teaches your kids colors and rolling the dice and things like that. So I'm setting them up to be more epic gamers. And I've actually, my son's only 5, but we've played Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition a couple times together, and he's always asking to bring that back. I mean, he can't read the cards, but I basically just tell him everything that's going on, and he tells me what he wants to do, and I'm like, okay, this is the story, this is what's going on. Oh man, there's a crazy ghost in the mansion, we gotta like go figure out what he's trying to do and things like that. So it's been pretty fun and pretty intense. So, but yeah, he's working on his reading because he wants to play more games with Dad. I'm like, you gotta learn how to read before you can play that game.
It's pretty awesome. So
yeah,
I don't have any kids to play with, so I don't really relate. Now, for those of you who watch Roy's show, I think anytime you do a top 5 of anything, for some reason he finds a way to shoehorn Super Rhino Battle into that. So you definitely play the Haba games. But
yeah. I mean, that doesn't have anything to do with kids. Rhino Hero is a game for adults. It's
Roy,
too serious to let the
just because it's a yellow box.
An adult game. It totally is. It's not even a kids game. I would not recommend it for kids. No one get that game for kids.
Well,
I
it's
have played it
taller
with
than
my
a child
kids.
half the time.
Yeah. I've played it with my kids cooperatively, where I will build the walls and they are allowed to move the Rhino each time. Like I'll take out all the different cards except for the ones that move Rhino in regular Rhino Hero. We've messed around with Super Rhino a little bit, but we've mostly played Rhino Hero with them. But like me and my game group go hard on some Rhino Hero just because we've had just such a blast seeing how tall the tower is. I had my family come over for Thanksgiving, and me and my dad and my brother, like I was in Texas, I barely get to see him, but we grew up playing games together with my dad, so it was really cool. And one of the things we did is we played Rhino Hero. We were playing competitively, but we used every single wall in the thing and got to the very top, and we like ran out of walls to use, and we're like, well, what do you do if you just run out of pieces? Like your tower's too tall. And look to the rule book, it's like, oh, everybody wins the game. It's like, yes, we won Rhino Hero. So So yeah, I'm definitely a huge fan of Rhino Hero. It's kind of like a meme on our podcast about how much we talk about Rhino Hero.
It kind of is. So on the subject of winning, so you have these kids and you're teaching them games. How do you feel about trying to, introduce the topic of winning, losing, everybody gets a trophy, this whole feeling? Because it seems a little tough because you want to be realistic, but what's your approach?
It's definitely a tough thing for younger kids because they want to win too, and they're like, oh, well, my sister beat me or my brother beat me or daddy beat us, and they can get upset. But I always encourage them to not get upset, and if you're gonna go too crazy, just step away. And I just make them say good game and shake or give each other a high five at the end of the game, like every single game. It's like, doesn't matter who wins, say good game and give them a high five. So but yeah, it's a thing that you have to work on with kids because it's in everybody's nature, I feel like, to be like, I want to win and I want to be the best. But I'm trying to teach them that it's not always about winning. It's about the experience you create playing the game.
Well, anybody in my game group will attest it's definitely not about the winning for me because that just doesn't happen. All right, so fast forward 10 years from now, what game do you want to see that you have in front of you with both your kids playing at right after Thanksgiving dinner?
Oh goodness. Just all of them. If it's a game that's still in my if it's a game that's still in my collection and my son is 15, I'm pretty sure that's the point where he could literally play anything. So, yeah, it would be cool if he wants to play any of the games, and he's always begging to play different things. Like, I want to play this, Daddy. Oh, what's that game? Can I play? I'm just like, technically you have to have certain skills that you're not quite there yet. We'll stick with a little bit of the simpler stuff for now, or the things that I can help guide you through. But yeah, they'll get there for sure. If I had to pick one game, dude, if the day that I play Twilight Imperium with my son is the day that I have won as a parent.
Yeah, definitely. When you can play your favorite game ever with somebody else.
Yeah, for real.
I mean, especially somebody you love like that. That's just got to be amazing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So you mentioned Twilight Imperium 4, and I remember vividly when you because I met you at Gen Con right after you got to play that game. I saw you the following morning.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the famous game with Tom and Zay, and you were just kind of in shock and awe at that point. So now that you've gotten some time, you've gotten your teeth into it, what's it like to replace your baby with a new shinier one?
I think it's pretty cool. I mean, there's a couple things I miss from Twilight Imperium 3, some of the things, I like that there were modules in 3 where you could kind of change up the game and have it suit your play group, and you could make it a little bit faster with some of the tweaks and stuff like that. But I think overall 4 is just if you're comparing base game to base game, it's not even close. 4 is so much better. I love the trade goods is amazing in the game, because before you just traded these cards with another player and they almost never switched up during the game. So it's okay, we're trade partners. If we attack each other, then we're going to lose our trade agreement. Now there's these trade goods that are worth, or they're called commodities. They're worth nothing to you. But if you trade them to another player, then they become actual resources that they can use. So every round you're talking to other players that are around you and around the board about hey man, I'll trade goods with you. And if somebody gets too many trade goods and they're doing too good, it's no, we're cutting you off. No more trade goods for you. Now we're going to trade over here with these guys who are doing less. You're always trying to make deals with the people that are not necessarily doing the best in the game and cut off the people who are doing really good. But it makes this dynamic where you can be trading with different people every single round or multiple times in a turn. So it's kind of really cool that way. And the tech tree's simpler, and there's a lot of things that make the game just feel like you can go a lot quicker in it.
Right. So do you think that kind of helps with keep the person who may be out of the game from an early position into it later? Do you feel that's kind of the result of that?
It probably depends on your meta a little bit. If there's someone who's just really good at talking everybody into giving them their money, you got to make sure to watch out for that sort of thing. And there's certain races that are better at trading too. But they've got several things in the game that can help people get back into their running. The whole political phase now doesn't happen until after someone takes over Mechatol Rex, but then it happens twice. A lot of those cards elect a player to get a certain bonus, or it's okay, well, everybody votes on a person to get a bonus. And a lot of the times people are a lot more willing to vote for the person who's in last place to help them out. It's like, okay, we'll give them a planet that can tap for extra resources, or we'll give them a planet that can help them get technology, or hey, we'll give them free technology. So the meta of the game, when those voting happen, when that voting stuff happens, just kind of like ends up helping out some people that are maybe straggling behind, which I think is really cool. But if everybody voted a ton on, because there's 2 every single round. So if everybody voted a ton, maybe somebody held back and they have a lot more votes in the second round and something like that comes up, then they can end up sneaking it away from other players, even though they're winning. The last game we played, we were all playing, we were playing with one of my co-hosts, Matt, was like 1 point away from winning the game. And then Mark Kale was kind of like sort of in like last place, and we were trying to help him out. One of the guys who runs Mega Moose Con down in South Carolina was playing the game with us. And we were trying to get him to get the point because he was kind of in last place. Like, if he gets a point, that'll be good for him. I mean, it won't hurt the rest of us. We just need to make sure Matt doesn't get it. So Matt spent a ton of points to try to make it so he got the thing. And we're like, okay, well, Matt's any point. We just need to spend enough points so that we don't have to worry about it. So it goes to the next person, and they pass. Are like, well, he has enough resources. He can make it to that point because Mark was like right, like the last vote or whatever. So it was going around, and everybody's like, well, I'm not going to spend that many resources. If Mark wants the point, he can end up doing it. So we're kind of like, I'm not going to spend my resources to keep Matt from getting a point. You're going to have to do it, or else the game's over. And then Mark's like, well, what if I just want the game to be over? And we're like, that's kind of lame. He's like, okay, I'll spend the resources. So he spent a bunch of resources to do it. And then Matt played an action card that allowed him to vote more than he did before. And he ended up winning the game because none of us were willing to swing it a ton towards Mark. So Matt was able to do a little bit more to make it so that he got the last point and won the game. So there's a ton of stuff in the game. It was like an epic finish to Twilight Imperium. So yeah, I'm probably rambling a lot, but I could talk about Twilight Imperium all day long. So
that exactly.
Well, I think we kind of knew that getting into it.
That exact same thing happened to me last night when I was playing Komet. It was just like one of those situations where I was just like, you know what? I don't want to help him out. I'm fine with the game ending right now. But if someone else wants to do it, I'm perfectly good with that too. But
it's like, I don't want to expend my resources. You guys stop it.
Yeah, exactly. Exact same thing.
It's hate drafting, right?
Yeah, basically.
So like, I think it's pretty obvious that like Ameritrash kind of the more thematic style games kind of are your bag for sure. What are some of your like favorite Euros? Because I'm sure you got to play a few of them, right?
Favorite
or not?
I don't know. The ones I've played a lot of Euros and things like that, and I actually do pretty decent in them most of the time because I can figure out the mechanics. And normally the first time I play a Euro, I'll get like second place because I'll be playing against other people who've already played it, and I do pretty good. But I mean, I like ones that people probably wouldn't even consider Euros that much, but they have Euro elements and things like that. Like I like Alien Frontiers and Champions in Midgard and stuff like that. That some people are like, oh, there's too much luck and dice rolling and all that stuff in there. But those are the kind of ones that I like. I mean, I've played several of the drier ones and things like that, like London and things like that, where you're just trying to get points is the name of the game. But for me, when I play games, I want there to be interaction with like the other people that I'm playing with. I want there to be stories that come out of the game when I play. I want to create like crazy experiences. And I think that's why I'm drawn so much to these like thematic games that can like bring forth a story and bring forth emotions in people and make things happen and stuff like that. But I mean, I'll play Euro games and things like that, but it always ends with this person got this many points and I got this many points, and that's the story we took away from it. So, but that's fun.
Yeah. I mean, there's you definitely don't get like that photo finish or that crazy upset at the end that you're going to get in a lot of the I don't want to say luck based because I don't think that's fair, but in the more thematic games, because hey, that's life. Sometimes things just go a different direction than you expect.
Yeah, I had an entire segment for like a year and a half on Throat Punch Lunch about randomness in board games and how luck makes games exciting. And I think there's something about like not knowing the outcome or not knowing exactly what's going to happen that can make a game more tense and exciting. Like when you have that stand-up die roll moment, or like everything hinges on whether or not this sort of card comes out of the deck. I know there's a lot of people out there that's like, oh man, it's too much. I want to know what's happening. But you know, life is tough and you don't always know what's going to be thrown at you. So it's really cool to try to make the outcome set up the best that you can. Like try to mitigate it every way you can, but then there's still a chance it could be swung one way or the other. Just seems really exciting to me.
But the other problem I think we kind of get into when we have these long games, whether they're Euro or whether they're, they're thematic or whatever, like your TI, you tend to have those ones that are...
Hey guys, Gary here. Sorry for the interruption, but for some odd reason, we cannot get the next 30 seconds to work properly with the rest of the video. But basically to sum it up, Chris just asked Roy, what is his experience playing these longer games when some of them might have problems with predetermined outcomes or just random outcomes where there's nothing you can really do about it. So let's go ahead and get back to the show.
So like if everybody just like sits back and just lets the game just play itself, or isn't very interactive around the table, that can make the game like not quite the same, you know. But if everybody is like really invested in it and jumping up and yelling at each other about what they should be doing, and I don't know, we like to have a crazy time when we're playing these games and make it super interesting as we're playing, and talk like tons of table talk and trying to figure out what the best thing to do is. And I mean, we definitely try not to alpha player anybody into things, but we definitely want to discuss and have an interesting experience with the other players. I haven't had too many experiences with a lot of the games falling flat. It's just when you have certain people on some of the games that can be luck based, where they're like, just throw it to this person or that person. It's just like, whatever, man. That's not how you're supposed to play the game. But no, I mean, for me, most of those epic games just always get stuck in my head, and I just remember them for forever, because the things that happened in those games are really hard to forget.
Yeah, you get a story out of it. All right, so you did bring up something where, like, let's go into the people around your game. So what is, you don't have to use names, but if you want to, like, I'm fine with it. But what's your, like, least favorite kind of person to game with? Like, let's say you go to Gen Con, you just go into a pickup game and person B is sitting across from you. What's the one that's going to just kind of kill it for you?
I mean, I've had experiences with games where people have not quite understood the game, or when a person isn't like actually trying to like play the game properly, where they're actually not like trying to win it, or they just throw it to another person. Like I had a game of Cosmic Encounter, and Cosmic Encounter is like one of my favorite games ever. And it's a game that's very much about negotiation and trying to get in on these alliances and things like that. And I was playing with a group of people where I didn't really know any of them. And I was trying to do the whole negotiation thing and things like that. And normally that goes pretty well, and I have a blast with that game. But there was just one guy that he either didn't quite understand how the game worked, even after explaining it a lot of times, or he just didn't care anymore. And I was like, hey man, you really shouldn't do that, because this is going to help him out. There was a player that was playing the masochist who wanted all of his ships to die, and if he got them all, if they all died, then he would just win the game. And I was like, hey man, you really need to let him win this combat and not kill off his ships, because if you do that, he's just going to win. Like, it was just the rules. That's the rules of the game. I'm explaining it to him, and he didn't care. He was like, oh no, I'm not going to let him take one of the things. I'm like, but we all lose. Every other person loses if this happens. So when you're playing those negotiation games and people just completely refuse to negotiate, or don't quite understand what's going on, then it can be kind of tough. So I like to play with people who are competent in the game and are excited about gaming and know what's going on a little bit, so that they're a little bit more of a challenge to play with.
All right, so cool. So that's kind of the favorite gamers. So if let's switch gears a little bit. Roy, if you could do any job, and let's say it's in the board game industry, what do you think you'd want to do?
Oh man, I don't know. There's so much in the board game industry. I wish I could just do it all. Couldn't I just do it all? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, I really enjoy doing the stuff
to know
with
what
media.
you do now.
Yeah, for sure. Currently, I just do podcasting and videos and media stuff, but it's pretty hard to like do that more hardcore in the industry, because there's some really great board game media creators, and it's for I'm not even newer at this point. I've been doing it for a while, but it's hard to like break out into doing board game media as like an actual profession or anything like that. But I'd love to do more media stuff and just talk and experience board games with people. But I mean, I'd be open to do other stuff. I mean, if I was actually good at it, I would like try to design board games also. I just do all the things that just encourage people in gaming and in the hobby.
Cool. So what do you do for your quote unquote real job now?
Mostly what I do currently is during the daytime, I watch my kids. So I'm a stay-at-home dad. But then when my wife gets off work, I go and work at a factory that stacks boxes on pallets. I used to do facilities management at Target for a while, but we were paying so much money in daycare that I stepped back from that and focused a little bit more on watching our kids at home until they're going into school, and then just doing a little bit more of the board game media stuff. But then picked up a job just stacking some boxes on pallets in a distribution center. It's technically for like ethnic foods and stuff like that, so it's pretty cool because it's like I'm kind of learning Spanish along the way, so it's pretty fun. But not necessarily my ideal job. But you know, you got to do what you got to do to help out your family, and it works really good with our schedule because they're a little bit more lax on me getting out and trying to get to some conventions and still like do my board game media stuff a little bit. So it's pretty exciting. But yeah, definitely stay-at-home dad is like my primary job. I mean, I've had dreams of like owning a game store / cafe / event center thing. Been like, man, I really wish I could like have a place with all the board games and bring people into play and like do that stuff. I mean, I dream about like running conventions and that being like a thing. I dream about like I've tried to design board games and like actually taken them to conventions and play tested them with people before, but none of them like got past the development phase. So it's like I've messed around with a ton of different things in board gaming. And I mean, I would work with a publisher and things like that. I don't know. Whatever I do, I would really like it to be in board gaming.
Well, I think what's important is that, you know, you're doing what is hugely important, and you're obviously passionate about both your kids and games.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you're doing what you need to do right now, and that's awesome. So props for that. So I think at this time, we're gonna wrap it up. What we are gonna do is we're gonna take a quick minute and we're gonna check to a commercial. So stay tuned as I come back. Roy and I are gonna play a little game in a bit, and he really has no idea what's coming. So something showed up on his doorstep. Yeah, he literally had something show up on his doorstep this morning, and that'll be part of the game. So we're going to roll into that in a few minutes. And meanwhile, a word from our sponsors.
Day after day, millions of yellow meeples sit unused and unwanted in their box. These defenseless pieces haven't been given the chance of other popular colors like blue or red, so here they sit, unplayed, day after day, week after week, year after year. Throughout time, yellow has been labeled with terms like lemon or pea, hurting the delicate sensibilities of these meeples who didn't choose to be yellow, but were made that way. Who will be the voice for the unplayed colors? Will you? For a small donation of just $10 a month, we at GAN Charities will ensure that yellow sees just as much attention, love, and joy as the populars. We will endeavor to make sure that every pawn, meeple, and piece have a chance to win or lose as equals with the other colors. Don't let our pawn prejudice go any longer. Be the voice for the less played, less wanted, and less loved colors in all games.
All right, so next up, it's Game with Guest, and I am playing What's Inside This Amazon Package of Lies with Roy Cannaday.
All right, guys, so what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be playing a game where both Roy and Chris got a package in the mail. I sent them both packages. Each package has a thing in it that's around $5 in it. It's a completely super random thing. what they're going to be doing is they're going to be looking inside that package and describe to the other person what it is. They could tell the truth of exactly what's in that package or completely lie about it and make up something off the top of their head. The other person then has to decide if that person's telling the truth or telling a lie. Now, like I said, these things are very random, so it could be... I've seen some random things on Amazon over the past few days, so we'll just leave it at that. But anyways, we're going to get back over to Chris and Roy to start the game. And Roy, we're going to have Roy start off first. All right,
so you want me to go ahead and grab what's in here?
Yeah, just go ahead and grab what's in there. Make sure it doesn't show up on camera, and then describe it to Chris what it is. Or you can lie about it, of course.
There's a bag inside of a bag. All right, so what I have here is something that seems very rectangular. Well, I think it is probably...
Well, you can't think. You got
some sort of collectible card game that was a fad back in the 90s. It seems like a Pokemon card, or several Pokemon cards, to be exact.
So, would you say that there's... say less than 100 in there?
I mean, do you need me to count these? Hold on a second.
No, just a rough idea.
I don't know. It seems about the size of a regular deck, so I wouldn't say quite 100.
Okay.
Maybe like 60-ish. I think you'll probably need some dark energy to play these cards.
Okay. All right. So I totally believe that this is a deck of Pokemon cards. So I believe you're telling the truth.
It does seem to be Pokemon cards. But I do have these all around me anyway. So.
Well, you actually
could have just been...
I could have just completely lied, because there literally could have been Pokemon cards like just sitting beside my table here, because that happens quite often. I don't really play Pokemon, but sometimes Pokemon cards just appeared places. I don't know if you guys have this problem, but yeah.
No, I can't say I do. All right.
Okay, so that's 1 point for Chris there. So we'll go ahead and start off and see what is in Chris's bag. Chris, be sure to try pulling your thing off the table.
All right. So Gary has provided me with a thing that's in this bag, and I think the best thing to I'll come out with it. This is a coloring book. I think that adults may like this. I don't know if you're the kind, but I definitely would not leave it around for the kids. It doesn't come with any crayons though, or any markers, so you're gonna have to provide them yourselves. And I think it's definitely for a mature audience, because its name is Fuckity. So that's kind
Are we still
of
playing
where
the
I'm
Dice
going
Tower
to go
segment
with
right
this.
now?
No, we are not.
Oh.
He might have to bleep that out, because I don't even know if I want that on YouTube.
Oh man, how hard did Gary go? Do I want to believe this?
He could have gone pretty hard.
For some reason, I'm going to say first episode, there's no way he's getting the FF book out on the first episode. So I'm going to say that Chris is just making this up.
You're calling me a liar on my own show.
I just think you really wanted to up the rating of this and make it more hardcore. Chris, you're so edgy. Let's see what's in the bag.
I am.
You're a liar.
All right. Think I'm a liar?
Here it comes.
No.
Nice.
So it's douchebag is kind of the first one I come to. I think this is kind of awesome.
It's just a coloring book of curse words.
Yep.
Is it
another
favorite? Made by the same people who did the hate Kickstarter video? They read that before they made the video, I'm pretty sure.
No, but the name of the group that makes it's the Honey Badger.
All right, guys, on to the next round. Great job. So now Roy's going to open up his package. So go ahead and open up your package, Roy, and tell the truth or lie about it.
Let's see what's going on here. So I have a thing here that has rainbows on it, and It's literally a unicorn. It's literally a unicorn that you put on your hand, kind of like a puppet. And you can prance around with it and act all silly, make it walk across the table, have it drink your drink if you want, you know.
I didn't realize Gary was buying things that were very useful as well when he did this. So is it big enough for an adult hand, or is it really just for like kids? Like is a brony gonna like this?
I mean, you'll definitely like it, Chris, if that's what you're wondering. I mean, I think you'll be a big fan.
Well, I'm asking for bronies everywhere.
Friendship is magic. Friendship is magic.
It is. I'm gonna call you a big fat liar. I think you're making this up. It's good if you are, but I think you are.
You don't think that I have the My Little Pony thing? It is totally a hand unicorn that you put on your hand and you flop around with.
That's even better than I thought. That's awesome. I'm picturing a little sock puppet. Oh, that's classic.
And I'm pretty sure that I have to get this out of the box right now.
All the stuff you could get for around $5 on Amazon.
You kind of have to.
Just a mental note. All around $5 on Amazon.
For bronies everywhere, man. Your little pony with its little clippity clops.
Yeah, but what happens if like your other play doll winds up with the little unicorn head in bed with it?
This is terrifying, guys. It's pretty terrifying. But yeah,
that's pretty.
Wasn't lying about that one.
Oh, very good. So, Gary, we'll save the last one. It's 2-1. Do you want me to do another one?
Yeah, why not? Go for it. Might as well.
All right.
Spend $5 on
it. Let's do this.
We maybe could tie it up here. Just for all the marbles.
All right. So you can see the package here. Okay. See if I can see the edges and sides. I don't want you to.
You can pull it off camera beneath the desk and look at it real quick.
No, I can look at it. I'm just trying to think of the best way to describe it. So, it's not another book. I can tell you that much. This one is actually going to be a video game. This is a old Xbox game that features all the classic Atari 2600 games for Xbox on it.
Dude, that's got to be way more than $5. That's worth so much money.
I mean, come on. Who doesn't want classic Pac-Man and Defender? But old school, 2600, 8-bit sprite graphic, cruddy version. And here's the best part. There's only 26 games on this entire thing. Yeah, 26.
I think I'm going to go meta here, but just because we've been pretty honest with what we had means that somebody has to lie at some point, Chris. And I think you just really enjoy that Atari game, so it's always on your mind. So I'm going to say that you're lying because you play that Atari game all the time. And so that's what you're thinking about, and that's not what's in the bag.
You could be right. It is a. I now have the proud owner of the complete season of The Legend of Zelda on DVD.
Yes.
With over 3 hours of action. So, yeah, I was absolutely a big fat McGuire pants on that one.
The whole 3 hours.
But do you play Atari?
Old school Atari. In the other room I made a MAME cabinet. So yeah, I
nice.
can.
It looks like Roy won that. Yeah. Wait, what was it? 3-1?
Yep.
Yes.
Tie.
Yeah. So Roy won this one. Congrats on your win, Roy. Your gift from the show to you is everything that you have in the mail now, which is the creepy ass unicorn hand fingers thing, whatever.
Totally worth it.
And the Pokemon cards, definitely. So have fun with that. Chris, you enjoy your 3 hours of absolute action DVD and the coloring book.
You know what's sad is I don't even have a DVD player anymore.
Not even on a computer either, right?
Yeah, I think I literally don't. I stream everything now.
Splurge for
so anyway,
some hollow Pokemon cards, man.
Wait,
there you go.
No, it's $5, man. Get off my case.
It's all commons. Come on. I only play with high value cards. No, I'm just kidding.
Nice.
Sorry, man. It's $5. I had $5 to work with, so I had to do my best. It was either that or I think there was a package that was like 10 rare, but no, not doing that.
Time to banish you to the Shadow Realm.
All right, so I just want to say thank you to my guest Roy for playing along with our Amazon bag of lies here. Roy, where can people find you on the interwebs?
Definitely check us out at if you just want to check us out on our social media, it's at Epic Gaming Night. We do a ton of stuff on Instagram, posting things we're excited about in games, and I post Favorite Game Friday stuff up there. You can also check out youtube.com/Epic Gaming Night. We post our podcast and stream it live every Tuesday at 9 p.m. And then also you can check out our stuff over on the Dice Tower. I'm part of Throat Punch Lunch and do Favorite Game Friday stuff over there as well. So everybody knows where the Dice Tower YouTube channel is. Check that out as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for being on our show this week, and we will see you next time when you game all night. This week's media creator shout out goes out to This Game is Broken podcast. These guys have a great time, are doing something a little different, and we want to make sure you join Dan, Matt, Dave, Nick, and Mike as they have a great little game show going on. So be sure to check them out wherever fine podcasts are sold. And welcome back. Now we have for you our top 5 countdown. Every week, we're going to source the top 5 countdown from you guys by posting a hashtag on Facebook and Twitter Mondays called GAN Top 5. Be sure to use that in your responses so we can add you to all of these lovely answers we have here. This week's question was, what is your favorite excuse for losing a board game? So checking in at number 5, D. Stoy said, it's the Power Grid dollar. If you've played Power Grid, you know that sometimes it's just a dollar that catches you out. It's very true. All right, number 4 is by D. Bazan on Twitter, and he was too busy teaching the game. Too busy teaching. It's very important to make sure that you all know how to play a game, that I wasn't focused on mine. I understand. Number 3, Dwarf Token was trying an alternate strategy. I think he tries alternate strategies a lot of the time. I've played with him, I know. Number 4. Number 2 comes from J. Cole00, and I think it needs some explanation. Wardrobe malfunction. So whatever that is, there's more story there, and I think the viewership wants to know what it is. And of course, if you play in any game group that I might be associated with personally, the number 1 answer is definitely going to be because Chris taught the rules wrong. Sad to say, but usually true. So that is your top 5 countdown this week. Be sure to tune in each and every week when we'll count down something new and participate yourselves. I'd like to take a quick moment and thank our special guest, Roy Cannaday, for stepping up and being guest number 1. And as you can see, I thought he did an awesome job. So we will have a new guest for you next week. Be sure to tune in. And thank you for gaming all night. Well, thanks for watching this week. If you liked our show, be sure to support us on PodPledge. Also, be sure to subscribe to our social media on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram using Game All Night Show. And do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel down here in the lower right-hand corner. You can engage with us on the Board Game Geek Guild 3134. Production this week is handled by Gary Pope and Reuven Fisher, and I want to give a special thank you to Jamie Kagi for his help and support of this show. Be sure to tune in next week when we have our next guest and we ask them the tough questions. Thanks for watching, and I want to give a final shout out to all the producers and supporters of the show. As you can see on screen, thanks for helping us out. And be sure to have fun when you game all night.